Before I begin, I wanted to take a moment and say that I understand that what I'm going to discuss in the video isn't everything when it comes to reading and writing. When creating stories, there's so many elements involved that it's impossible to make a short video on them. However, what I intended to do with this video is to create simple ideas for students that they can better understand and give them examples that they can relate to in some way, shape, or form. That being said, what is it that allows a story to become good to the audience? I'm not just talking about things you find in novels, I'm talking about stories in general. Some of you watching this may have had an assignment that requires creative writing of some nature, or some of you are trying to creatively write for your own purposes. And you're struggling with the idea and how to make it work. And that's okay. No one is going to make the best story at first, or even the 50th time around. What's important is to understand the elements of storytelling that translate into novels. Let's take a step back for a moment. Start from the ground and work your way up, as it were. Think of your favorite story. It could be a book, graphic novel, TV show, movie, short story, video game, whatever. For me, my favorite stories happen to be all over the place, but I'll show examples of those later on. What I want you guys to think about when you're thinking about these short stories is why they work. What elements attach themselves to you that make you attracted to them? And again, it's from all media, so think about it. Is it music? Is it sound? Is it how characters talk? Is it action? Is it set pieces? Is it the characters, the plot, the emotions that you feel from them as they talk with one another? Sometimes it won't be so easy. Sometimes you won't be able to find something that's such that is so cut and dry that you go, I like it because X, Y, and Z. And that's okay. That's great even, because great stories don't have just one single element for you to understand and to hold on to. There's numerous ones. Sometimes you have bad elements in good stories and vice versa. That's what happens when it comes with writing stories. So your question may be then, how are you supposed to make something that connects to audiences if you're not sure what to look for? Well, I hope to refine that a little bit. I hope to show three major aspects that come with any good story, that come with any form of writing and reading is necessary for any novel or short story to take off, to take place. I will provide examples from several different forms of media for you guys to look at and to listen to, as well as kind of explain why I chose those examples. Now, nothing's saying that those examples are always going to work, but I felt that they were the best representation of the ideas that I want to talk about. So first up, let me talk about a protagonist. What is a protagonist? Protagonist is defined as the leading character or one of the leading characters in a story. Simple concept. This person is the one you follow as the events of the story unfold. Okay, so now that we know that, we understand that they're important to the story. You can't have a story without following someone and watching the events unfold. The question is, how do you write them? Well, first off, your protagonist doesn't always have to be a good guy. I wanted to get that out of the way first. As media has grown, so too has the idea that heroes can be anti-heroes. Anti-heroes are considered to be people that, while are the protagonist, don't always do the right thing at the right time. Great examples of this can be found in the comic book genre, such as Deadpool and Wolverine. Anyone who's seen any of their movies or read any of their comic books knows immediately what I'm talking about. I can't show these examples in the video because I'm hoping for younger audiences to get attached to them, but you can understand basically from the character's design and how they look and how they react in certain situations what I'm referring to. They're violent and they're gritty and they're open with what they like and what they dislike, which is not normal for many classic hero archetypes, and that's okay. That's what makes them fun. What any good adaptation requires, what any good story requires, is a character that we can follow and not feel disconnected from. So the basic question is, so why do we like these characters? Why do we like main characters in general? Simply put, we can see ourselves in their shoes because we see bits and pieces of them, of ourselves in them. Are they perfect? Hell no. And that is okay. In fact, it's usually better that your hero isn't perfect. When you have a protagonist that not only does the right thing, that never questions anything, and never struggles against adversity, you end up having someone that is egotistical and bland and boring. On the flip side, if they always complain about things and never take charge, you have someone that audiences more often than not find annoying and overplayed. A great example of this is classic Superman. Classic Superman always had this idea that he was always perfect, that he never could struggle with anything. And while it was great at first to see him fight adversity, Slowly, his character started to get boring and dull with audiences, so they had to mix it up. They had to make him struggle with the idea of not being able to save everyone, which is why we can relate to him. On the flip side of it, you have Batman, who everyone admires and adores, but who's so distant from everyone that it's really hard to put yourself in his shoes half the time. We just like him because he's unique and he's interesting. So the struggle that many kids or many people have with writing is finding that balance, finding that perfect balance. And my best advice for that is to put yourself into whatever you're writing. Whenever you put down a main character onto a page, you have to put yourself into that character. Now, I'm not saying it has to be fully, I'm not saying that you have to become that main character, but certainly elements of your own personality and things you're looking for should be in there. Okay, so when talking to other characters as well, that main character should be genuine and full up in front. Sorry, not the quite word, not quite. That character should be fleshed out. Give them a backstory, a purpose to things. It's why they're doing something. When they're interacting with other characters, why are they there? What are they talking about? Make them feel real. And by doing so, you'll create main characters that your audience loves and admires and can get attached to. And even if it's a quick short story about someone dying, having those emotions and those connections allows for the reading experience to be much more enjoyable. Okay, so if that's your main character, what are they fighting against? Why are you writing this story? Simply put, your main character needs an antagonist. Someone that is in no other way fighting against your protagonist. And that antagonist can be a single person or a group of people that creates conflict for your character. Now, of course, there's several different types of conflict. There's man versus man, man versus nature, man versus technology, man versus society, and man versus self. For this idea, I'm just going to keep mainly focused on man versus man because creating a human protagonist against another human protagonist is far simpler for beginning writers to create. As your experience grows, so too will your ability to create something. Okay, so why is it important to create a strong villain? Well, for starters, writing a weak antagonist means there's no drama and no fear or clear motivations. So there's no reason for your protagonist to fight. If you have a weak protagonist, we're not going to care, or a weak antagonist rather, you're not going to have that connection to your audience. It's just simply not going to happen. Now, of course, throughout media, we've seen different reasons for antagonists being there, and as such, we've kind of overplayed certain tropes for antagonists. The key is to finding a way to make them unique and interesting and allows them to feel real and for their motivations, like your protagonist, to feel genuine. Two examples of great villains that I have found throughout media both come from video games. The first is named by the name of Handsome Jack, and the second is a character named Boss Montenegro. If you guys have ever played the games that I'm about to mention, you guys will know immediately why I've chosen these characters. So let's start with Handsome Jack. Handsome Jack is a character from a video game series called Borderlands. It is about a post-apocalyptic world in which the main character fights off against Handsome Jack, who is the leader of this multi-trillion-dollar company who wants nothing more than the complete and utter control of the planet you're fighting on. The thing that makes Handsome Jack unique is that he sees himself to be the hero, and he attacks the player not through only his minions, but through words, through retaliation, through expressing his own beliefs and opinions on you, and never seeing why he's in the wrong. And that's what makes him very unique and interesting to watch. So I'm going to play a bit of audio from one of the sections in which he's taunting the player. And I want you guys to listen to how he talks. And it's only a few minutes, it's only a few seconds long, so it's not going to be extremely in-depth look at the character. But you'll get to know why many people find him to be one of the most breathtaking examples of a video game villain in a very long time.
Oh, this is so frustrating. You see, this is what I don't get about you bad guys. You know the hero's gonna win, but you just don't die quickly. Man, example, this one guy in New Haven, right? City's burning, people are dying left and right, yada, yada, yada. This jackal rushes me with a spoon a freaking spoon, and I'm dying laughing, right? So I scoop out his stupid little eyeballs with it, and his kids are all, wah! And I'm I can't even, oh, he can't see where he's going. He's bumping into stuff, and anyway, I don't know. Maybe he had to be there. The moral is, you're a total bitch.
Okay, so upon hearing that audio, one can see how Handsome Jack might be attractive to certain viewers. He's not going to work for everyone, absolutely, but what he does is different. What he does is unique. He portrays himself as the hero. So in scenes which are grotesque and violent and brutal, he finds great amusement, which makes him that much more entertaining to listen to and to watch as the character and you move throughout his story. Okay, so that's one example. The exact opposite of the spectrum, in my opinion, can be found in the character Voss Montenegro, a character from the video game series Far Cry 3. I can't play the audio, unfortunately, due to the fact that there are several curse words in his audio, no matter when he talks to you. But just looking at the images on your screen now, one can see how Voss is very dominant while talking to you, while how very controlling he can be, and how suddenly his anger can spike up without any warning. During this bit of audio, Voss is talking to your character about the definition of insanity. And as he talks, one starts to get a feeling that his version of insanity and your version of insanity are two vastly different things. But you're so scared by him, you don't know what he's going to do. And the fact that he nonchalantly kicks a freaking boulder off of a cliff, taking you with it to go drown in the lake, kind of shows just how deep and dark he can be without having to show too much emotion if he so chooses. So you have these two wide spectrums of characters, but the moral of what I'm trying to tell you is that your villain can be any of them, or he can be a combination of them, or they can be, neither of them. The point is that they have to be entertaining to your audience, though. If they're not entertaining, we're not going to enjoy what we're watching, what we're reading, what we're listening to. So you have to make them connect in some way so we can enjoy their arc. And hopefully they're defeated by the end of the story, and we enjoy seeing them fail. But if they're not, then we want to see why they're so successful at winning. Okay, so you've got your protagonist and you've got your antagonist. What's left? Well, in my opinion, the most important thing that people writing fail to realize is that their setting needs to be perfect. It needs to be real. So what am I talking about? Okay, setting is where the story takes place. It can be wherever your mind wants it to take place. The thing is, it has to feel real. If you have a fantastical story, say in a science fiction or a fantasy world, then it has to feel genuine. The character interactions, the way the world is, has to feel real. Okay, so what is it exactly that I'm talking about? Okay, look at examples of like Game of Thrones or The Hunger Games, where the worlds feel genuine, where the worlds work with their own set of rules. We don't need to know all of the rules, but we know certain things just based off of how the characters talk and interact with one another. Hunger Games, Pan Am is a post-apocalyptic North America, so certain areas don't exist anymore and they're under different names and such, but we know that the world kind of still looks the same way. With Westeros, which is the world from Game of Thrones, we know that summers can last months and winters can last a lifetime or two. And what does that tell us to the audience? Well, it tells that the world feels real. It exists. It has rules that, while we may not always understand, connect to us. So what exactly is it I'm trying to say when I say rules? I mean things that just should exist and that don't need to be told to the audience, but are explained in the ways that the characters work. So say you're building a post-apocalyptic Earth. Is there radiation in the air? Do deserts exist where there weren't before? Is water rising? That kind of stuff, if it's necessary to the story, should be explained. Should be mentioned in some way, shape, or form. You don't always have to go right out and explain everything that occurred, but If it's important and it's integral to the story, it should be mentioned. When you're creating your own world, then by all means go all out, but make sure we understand how things work. Don't assume that we're going to know just simply by the way the characters interact. Kind of show the world as it exists. Now, with short stories, it's not going to be as easy because you're generally going to be in a limited number of pages, so you want to make the setting the background. But in a novel, by all means, make that setting feel genuine, feel real. Give it backstory, give it a history, explain why that field over there is part of a battlefield if it's integral to the story. You don't want to go too deep into explanation where your audience suddenly loses interest. By all means, I mean, if you read Lord of the Rings, which is a great series, but so heavy on history that you start to lose focus of the characters, then you're going to have an audience that suddenly becomes bored, and you don't want that. But if you have a world that you slowly build, that you slowly explain certain things as they come up naturally, then your world is going to start feeling authentic and genuine, like your characters, like your plot, everything like that, and it all starts meshing together as one. So what I want to end with is remember that these three pieces, when it comes to writing, are just three small but basic pieces to any story. There are many elements that go into a good story, and no one expects you to be perfect on your first time when writing. But examples can be found no matter where you look in the world of literature. You guys need to just find and experiment with what you think sounds good. Take your protagonist from one story, take an antagonist from another, take a setting from a third, and put it together and see what makes sense to you. You are the creator, you are the writer. So obviously you're going to put yourself into whatever it is that you're making. Just make sure that your audience can connect to it. That's all I'm saying. Make it feel real, make it feel genuine. I know whoever chooses to listen to my advice will do so of their own free will, and that's totally fine and that's totally great. I just want people when they start writing to feel more connected to what they're writing and to have a basic understanding of certain elements. That's all. And I feel as though with time everyone will start to understand. I just want to make great writers. That's all. So in summary, just remember to make things feel genuine and feel unique. And I know that by the end of the day, you're going to make something that you're proud of and that you're going to love reading as much as everyone else will.